Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning, guys.
Welcome to Breakfast with
the Brookses.
Yes. So I'm super excited, guys. I don't know about you, but if you are a co-parent, you need to be listening to today's show. So we're going to get into it. I want you guys to do us a huge favor right off the break. Do me a favor, share this out to as many people as you possibly can. We're trying to get ourselves set up. So many great things going on this morning. For those of you all who do not know, and maybe you're jumping in by way of replay, do me a favor really quickly. Put the word replay in the chat and let us know that you're a replay viewer so that we can greet you a lot more personally. We certainly want to know who's jumping in. We certainly appreciate you guys taking out the time on a Saturday morning for my live people. Really early here to talk about a few things relative to co-parenting. So for those of you all who do not know, my name is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and I'm sitting here next to the lovely who is kind of doing other stuff. Light skin.
Sheri Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach.
So, babe, today we're going to talk about a few things I think that is really, really critical, particularly with blended families. Most people, when they attempt to blend a family, they do it without certain information. I'll put it that way. And I know we did. You know, when we got married 19 years ago, we were a blended family. I had a son, you had a daughter. My son was, how old was Justin? 3, 4, something like that.
It was like 3 when we met.
Yeah, 3 when we met, 4 when we got married or something like that. And then Shantae was 11 turning 12 or 12 turning 13, 1 and 2. But the point I'm making is that we just didn't realize what we needed to know until we needed to know it. And so today's show and today's program, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before we get started in that, Sheri and I created an online relationship academy. It's called MAPS, Marriages and Parenting Successfully. Marriages and Parenting Successfully. It's a relationship academy designed to help people who want to grow their relationships intentionally. And I think that unfortunately, most people don't realize that the reason why relationships work or they don't work, babe, is because of the skills that you either have or you don't.
Right.
And so their communication skills, there's all kind of skill sets that's involved in making relationships function properly. And I think that unfortunately, most people go either underdeveloped or not developed at all in those particular areas. And so what we do on Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. live every Tuesday night, is that we show up, and our goal really is to help people sort of boost that skill set. It's almost like being a carpenter, for instance. There's a person who knows how to nail a hammer properly, and then there's a person who can barely get it done while smashing their thumb. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I think that, I know you're trying to do some things, but talk to me a little bit real quick. I think that that's important, and it's important for them to know that skill set and be able to develop it. And if you don't, here's what I promise you, the relationship will reflect that.
Right. I think it's essential to learn that. So being a parent or being married are two of the only careers, jobs, titles you'll ever have that there's no official training.
Yep.
You go through training to get your driver's license.
Yep.
If you're a doctor, you go through training. But there's no manual, there's no training.
There's no certification.
Right. And there are certain skills that you need to be effective as a parent. Anybody can be a parent. Anybody can be married. But to be effective, there are certain skills that you need to learn in order to be effective in those roles.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about that. So if you want to join MAPS, if you want to get involved, if you want to be a part of that community, go to thecrcoach.com, www.thecrcoach.com, and make sure that you sign up. Maybe you check in and figure out, what it is that you want. How can we serve you? We got a ton of things. That's where you can get all of our books. That's where you can find out about our cruise that we've got coming up in October. If you want to still be a part of that, that's where you can find out all information, everything MAPS you can find at thecrcoach.com. So today we're going to talk a little bit about co-parenting. There are 4 questions 4 questions that you absolutely need to know and you need to have answers to when you decide that you're going to get involved in a co-parenting situation. And I think, babe, that most people, again, they don't know these questions to ask.
Right.
So therefore, you meet somebody, you're out on, maybe somebody hooked you up, you're a friend of a friend, and y'all wind up going out and that sort of stuff. And before you know it, things go quickly, right? They're moving from one place to the next. And before you know it, you're saying, I do. Right. You're at an altar and you're trying to figure out, whoa. And so now you got kids involved. You've got their parents involved, meaning their co-parents, the whole 9 yards. And it's just something it's tough. Right. And when I say it's tough, guys, it's something that if you don't pay attention to, it will trip you up. And when I say trip you up, it'll cost you your relationship.
Right. And unfortunately, there are a lot of hard questions that most people don't ask before they say I do. And it may be a year, maybe 2 years later into the relationship that these issues come up. But had you had the conversation on the front end, not to say you wouldn't still get married, but at least you would know where you stand about certain things.
Right.
And so the first question that we believe that you should ask before, and this is not even just a co-parenting, any relationship.
Well, yeah. And again,
but particularly dealing with blended families because it has an effect on more than just the two of you. So it's very important that you ask these questions because there are little people, there are other people involved. There's another family. The family dynamic is so large. So it's critical, especially in a blended family situation. And that first question.
Well, before we go to that, I wanted to just really quickly, guys. First of all of those questions you're going to find in our book, Broken to Family to Blended. We wrote down this there are several questions and we give you work to do. That if you are dating someone, right, and they have children, last night we had the opportunity to do a sort of a parenting workshop, if you will, for a group of people. And we find that there are blended families and they get that way and they don't realize that these kinds of tools are available. So we take you through these questions and we help you to begin to ask of yourself some things that you may want to know on the front end. And so all these questions are listed here. But the first question you want to know, particularly of the person that you're getting involved with, particularly in a blended family, is what do you value?
Mm-hmm. And your values are essential because if I value family,
right.
And when I say I value family, I value spending time with my family. I value, just really being involved in my family, my extended family, my cousins, my parents, I'm just really a very family oriented person. And you're not. Don't mean you don't like your family, don't mean you don't love your family, but you're not so into so if my family, we have a family reunion every year and we all get together, the whole family, everybody's birthdays, we all get together and that's not who you are.
Right.
If you my family, we cool. If we see each other once a year, we good.
Right.
We talk every now and then, we good. That's going to create a clash because you have in your mind, this is what family looks like.
Right.
And that's something that you value. So even when you come together as a blended family, now you're thinking, okay, so we're all one family now. So I need to get to know the parent
and the
other parent because we're all a family now.
Right. Well, the problem with that is, babe, is that let's just use that for an example. So I was the kind of person that I really could take my family or leave them.
Not in a bad way.
Now, I know that sounds really bad on the front end. When I say take you or leave you, in other words, I didn't have to be on the phone with you every day. I didn't have to go over your house. I didn't have to, show up at, birthday dinners. Like if I was in town, if I had some things going on, I was very selfish, very self-centered, very just everything me. Right. And so you were an afterthought, particularly if you were in my family, because I took you for granted. And I know this sounds terrible. It was terrible.
It was hard.
But I took family for granted. I was not that pressed to be around my family. But when I met this one, it was different, particularly with her immediate family, with her daughter. But then there were even things, and as dysfunctional as, your family was, and mine was too, but yours just kind of in a different way, you still value spending time with them and being around them to some degree.
Right. It was important for me, especially with my daughter. We were very close, and I valued spending time and doing things, family oriented things. But even, like you said, with my parents and my other family, like, you know, I wanted to go over to my parents' house on Sundays and after church, you know, just to stop
not
by.
So much.
And it wasn't like we had these I guess it was a tradition, but it wasn't, I guess, an official.
It wasn't an official, like, tradition every Sunday, but it was.
Right, but just to be able to go by to go check on them, you know, that was something that was important to me, even though, you know, as he stated, my family had been very dysfunctional.
Right.
But as I had gotten older, as I was getting older, I realized how much I valued that. Whereas, like, even now, I can say it's like, you know, every birthday, we all got to get together and celebrate everybody's birthday, you know, at least once a week. You know, I
absolutely necessary.
My parents, I need to see my daughter.
Right.
Wish my son was closer because I'd probably get on his nerves because I'd want to see him every week as well. But he's, you know, just a little further away from us. But that's very important to me. And early in our relationship, especially as our daughter got older and went through some challenges, it became apparent that that was a real value that I had that was causing some friction.
Yeah. And the point I'm making, guys, is that if you're not in touch with what you value, what happens is in a blended family, it exasperates that. So, for instance, I honestly believe that when people are having challenges in their relationships, oftentimes it's because something that you are valuing is being devalued.
Right.
By the other person. And many times it's unawares. Well, in a blended family situation, that one thing can really feel like it's 10 times heavier than it is, because now you're dealing with a co-parent that needs to be involved in the situation. So if you have a value that really is not spoken, or it's a value that you really aspire to kind of keep, it's who you are, it's what you're doing. And we have all kinds of different trainings that help people sort of discover what their value is, or what they actually value. But if you don't know that and you go into the situation unawares, what'll happen is it'll really, really make bad matters worse.
Right, and especially in blended families, the thing when you don't have shared values, it creates a divide. In the family, and it'll be very visible because you'll both be on very separate pages, and your children feel that, and the whole family will sense that. And so it's very important that you discuss what your values are and try to come to middle ground. And hopefully you have some shared values. But you got to have that conversation to know, because if you're completely opposites, that's going to be a problem.
So we're going to go ahead and go to number 2 in a second. But I do want to say thanks to Todd and Karen and a couple others are jumping in the room. I appreciate you guys for being on. Do me a favor. If you can, go ahead and share this out to folks. We really want to get people, particularly if they are not married yet, but they are in a dating situation and they're blended. This would be a good resource for them. So number 2, again, we're talking about 4 questions that you need answers to before saying I do to a blended family. Number 1 is, what do you value? Listen, ask the question, what do you value? And I will give you a quick secret. What people value is what they do.
Yes. It's not what they say.
It's not what they say.
I
can observe someone and tell what they value.
Right.
I can look at my wife's life at the time we were dating and tell she really valued family. But if you don't know to articulate that and ask questions and really be kind of get into that, you'll never really know that that's exactly what they value. And then unfortunately you'll trample on it, and then it'll be a problem. Number 2, we want to talk about, what is the husband's role? The husband / father. What is your expectation of what his role is?
You supposed to be my sugar daddy.
Sugar daddy. Everything. I ain't got
everything.
I ain't got to work no more. Listen, guys, we cutting up, but that's, if you don't go into particularly a blended family with that clear distinction is, okay, so when we blend this family, how's that going to look?
Right. And particularly with blended families, you have to know what your expectation is. If my expectation is that when we get together, you're going to be a father figure. To my children.
Yes.
But that's not how you're thinking. Well, we getting married, and I mean, they here, they cool.
And they got a daddy.
So I ain't got to be all involved like that.
Right.
I mean, I'm here, I'm paying the bills, but you know, they got a father, so I ain't got to father them. That's a problem.
That's going to be a problem.
If my expectation is that you're going to be a father figure.
Absolutely.
And notice I said father figure.
Right.
Especially if they have a father, their other parent is actively involved. You never want to, the focus is never on replacing that person.
Right.
It's coming alongside them.
Right.
And so I'm Justin's other mom.
Yeah.
I never came in saying I'm going to be your mom.
Right.
I'm his other mom.
Right. Bonus mom. Some people may say.
And so it was never, I'm going to take on that role. But if I had decided when we got together that, oh, he got a mother, I ain't going to mother him.
Right.
That's not my role.
Right.
If I felt that way and that was what Glenn expected, that's going to be a problem.
So Sheri's already gone into it. Didn't have a chance to talk about. She totally took over the conversation. But the third question is, what is the wife's role? So since she just went in and did number 3 first, I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about a husband's role. The truth of the matter is that many times, particularly as men, Sheri, when we come to a relationship, we already have it in our mind how we're going to function. Because men typically are geared towards just really providing and protecting. That's kind of how we think. That's our DNA. The truth of the matter is that we're not going to, with our own biological children, do but so much when it comes to being emotionally available by nature. Now, if we're taught, if that's been modeled for us, if we're in community with a bunch of men who really press this issue, no, you need to be involved. You need to be connected with your children, emotionally available, and that sort of thing, then that might be the case. But the truth is that if we're that way with our own kids, how much more are we going to be that way towards our future children by way of marriage?
Right.
And so it has to be extremely clear, and we have to talk about what is your expectation of me concerning your kids? Because and I literally will go and say, listen, they have a dad. Listen, I'm going to do this, that, and the third. But if I don't communicate that, if I'm never asked that question and I'm just rolling, right, what'll happen is at that particular point, one of your expectations will absolutely go unmet.
Right. And I think that's why it's critical as a parent, when you get involved with another person and you have children, is that you slow down and take time to see how, especially if they have children of their own.
Yeah.
Observe how they are with their children.
Yeah.
That's a clear indicator on how they're going to be with your children.
Right.
If they're not involved with their children.
Hello.
If they fuss about paying child support.
Hello.
If they just pay child support and are not actively involved.
If they don't pay child support.
Right.
And they're ducking people.
Right.
That's a clear indication of how they going to treat your kids.
Right. And so don't say, oh, well, they just had issues with that baby mama. No. That's something inside of them.
There's an indicator there.
That's an indicator
Absolutely.
on how they're going to be with your
Absolutely.
children if they're not involved with their own flesh and blood.
Yeah. I got a news flash.
What?
We got both of the St. Germains on. Angela just jumped in the room. Some of our closest friends just jumped in. We're just super excited to have you guys on. But listen, guys, no, this is hugely important. So again, we're talking about the 4 questions that you need answers to before saying I do to a blended family. Number 1, what do you value? You want to know the answer to that question. Number 2, what is the husband's role? Meaning your expectation of what you think he should or should not be doing, particularly in the way of, your children. Number 3, what is the wife's role, or again, her expectation or your expectation of her,
right.
and be able to clearly articulate, this is what I'm expecting to happen. And if
right.
that doesn't happen before you say I do, it needs to happen quickly after, because if not, life starts happening, and before you know it, you're running and you're trying to figure out what happened.
Right. And just one other point in regard to the wife roles. The wife's role, okay, like we said before, like with the husband, you want to watch how he interacts with his children. Now, on the flip side, for a woman, that can look very different.
Yeah.
She can be very involved in her children. And this is where I tell people, when somebody tells you something, believe them.
Yeah, that's what Maya Angelou said. When a person tells you who they are, believe them the first time.
Right. So if I tell you when we're dating, I don't want no more kids.
Yep.
I have my own child. I don't want any more kids.
Yep.
But you have children.
Yes.
We move forward with the relationship. We get married, and then you're wondering, why am I distant with your kids? I told you I didn't want no more kids. Or
you have children, but they don't live with you. In my case, I had a child, but he didn't live with me. And so if she was the type of person saying, I don't mind, I think getting married would look good, that'd be fine, but I don't want children. So if 3 years in, I all of a sudden want to have my son full time, guess what? That's going to be a problem.
Right.
And you knew that before I do. And so what we're trying to help you guys understand is if you get these questions, if you get this understanding out and you make sure that you're super clear, there's clarity around those subject matters, you don't have challenges later that you can't undo. We just had Tanika jump in.
Tanika.
What's up, girl? Good to see you. Maya, thank you for jumping in the room. Y'all are having some conversations between y'all. We're going to go to that in just one quick second. We're not ignoring you. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, you guys. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all for jumping in. But we're going to get to this last one, and then we're going to take a couple of quick questions if you have one. I will tell you before we get to the last one, guys, at 9 a.m. this morning, we're going to be doing a live training online that it's not too late for you to sign up for. It's called How to Bridge the Gap with Your Co-Parent. We're going to do this live training at 9 a.m. this morning. We really want you to show up. We'd really love to have you there. And we're going to go through some strategies and some tips and some things that we did. We also outline a few of those in this book, From Broken to Family to Blended, on literally how you can bridge that gap. Right. Now, some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, I promise you, isn't in the book. It's probably going to be in the second book because we're probably going to put together a book around this subject. But literally, when you are in a situation where you and your co-parent are either number one, ride or die, y'all are good friends, or you may have a co-parent where y'all are just associates and it's kind of a business relationship. You don't fuss and fight, but you're not friends either. How do you make that work? And then number three, if you're bleach and ammonia, meaning you are just toxic together, how do you get past that? Right. We're going to deal with that in a live workshop this morning, 9 a.m. It's called How to Bridge the Gap with Your Co-Parent. It's a training. If you want more information about that, go to bit.ly/relationship goals 2018 to register. You can register for it. There'll be a link. It'll send you a link, and there's a separate room. It's not on Facebook or anything, but we'd love to have you in the room. bit.ly/relationship goals 2018 for the live training that we're going to do at 9 a.m. So we appreciate you guys for jumping in. Last thing we're going to deal with today for this one, we're talking about, again, going back to the subject, the 4 questions that you need to know, you need answers to if you're going to approach a blended family situation. We already said, number 1, what do you value? Number 2, what is the husband's role and responsibility? Let's talk about it. Let's not just assume. The same with the wife. What is her role? What is her responsibility? Do we all understand? And the last one is, what is your parenting style? You want to know that on the front end.
And you have to know yours first.
Yes. you have them pulled up. Here are the 3 types of parenting style. I'm sorry, there's 4 of them.
4 types of parenting styles. The first one is the authoritarian. Yep. And the authoritarian is
the person that literally, it's my way or the highway. Right. There's an authoritarian parenting style where it's got to be run your way or the highway, and that's all there is to it.
And then there's the authoritative.
Right. And so real quickly,
is the one that is, they're going to have the conversations with the child. They put rules in place.
Right.
And there are boundaries in place, but they're going to they guide their child.
Right. They're going to guide the child a little bit more.
That's the healthier of the 4.
Yeah.
Because you're willing to sit down with your child, try to work through problems. You're creative on your disciplines, tactics. You're actually involved in your child's life. You're more hands-on, but not so hands-on that you're controlling.
Right. And number 3 is the permissive parent. That's the parent that kind of sort of just backs up and they just kind of allow whatever to happen. It's it's okay. It's cool. That's the parent that really struggles with being a friend versus a parent. And so you got to know, which one are you? And then lastly, you have the uninvolved parent, the parent who just literally ain't there. And I grew up in our neighborhood in South Baltimore. I remember parents who were never there. Right.
Not just physically.
No, they just weren't there. They were unavailable. I remember when we left the city and we moved to the county and the suburbs. And I remember growing up with a guy, his parents were much older, but it was like there was this huge disconnect. And they just didn't show up at all. They weren't at any of the school functions. They weren't at anything. And both parents were there. But it was weird to us as kids because, I had a single mom, but she was involved.
Right.
And most single moms are super involved. Matter of fact, most single moms err on the side of being too involved. But the truth of the matter is, guys, is that those are the kind of parents. So we're not going to go into that. We actually have, again, programs and different coaching things that we can take you through and help you develop and find out what your parenting styles are and how to parent from that perspective. But if you're going to get married, if you're going to find yourself in a blended family situation, you want to know for a fact and be super clear on what the other person's parenting style. We even suggest that you take an assessment and you literally discover, like, what is that and why do I parent that way? Because at the end of the day, Sheri, what'll happen is if those questions go unanswered, I promise you they won't go away.
Right. It's going to create problems down the line.
Absolutely.
Because you'll be on separate pages. And
all day long.
The worst thing, when it comes to parenting children is not being on the same page.
Yeah.
They're like, I call them trolls. When they see there's a, kink in your arm, chink in your armor.
Yeah.
When they see a weakness,
they're going for it.
They're going to play on that.
They're going to play.
They see that the two of you are not a united front. They going to weasel their way in there.
They're going to wedge right up in that gap, and they're going to create a separation. And the separation, if you think about it, it's not a door. It's not an inanimate object. It's you two.
Right.
So imagine a child wedging a gap between the two of you, and you're coming further and further apart on an issue that matters.
Right.
And they're the one occupying that space. And now they're in the middle of that space, just kind of doing their thing. And you guys are just as divided and you're separating, you're going further and further apart. And before you know it, there's chaos.
Right.
And so we just want to help you guys. We're super excited. If you guys have been with us for any length of time, you obviously know that at 9 a.m. this morning, we're going to do a live training called How to Bridge the Gap with Your Co-Parent. Sheri, as coaches, one of the things that we unfortunately get to see is people at their worst sometimes. And we get to see people who are not getting along at all. And guys, I'm going to promise you, the person that loses the most in that equation is often the children.
Right.
They just lose. When we can't figure out how to get our stuff together, when we can't figure out how to own our own crap, when we can't figure out how to navigate from the dumb stuff to the stuff that matters, the kids pay the price. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about today in our live training is how do you navigate from that parent that's just that co-parenting situation that's toxic. It's just bad. It's bleach and ammonia. It's oil and water. It's just nasty. It doesn't mix. How do you get to that place where you can maybe bump that up to a level where at least you are associates? At least you can kind of come together. Maybe you're not friends, but you're not enemies, and you can do it, do some amicable things together and just kind of come together and at least get through it. And then there will be some of you guys that'll be able to bump that up to what we call your ride or die. Like we literally at this point hang out with our co-parents. Like at family functions, and my sister threw a 50th birthday party for herself last year. We had a ball. I mean, it was just the mother of all parties. Our co-parents were there, and we just had a good time. And 20 years ago, we couldn't have done that. Right. So the book is From Broken to Blended, Broken to Family to Blended. I always get that wrong, and I wrote it. That's crazy, ain't it? Broken to Family to Blended. Make sure that you guys pick that up. Go to thecrcoach.com if you want to pick up that or find out anything else about us. We went a little bit longer than we anticipated today, but it's cool. Certainly want you guys to be involved. Let's just kind of really quickly go to some comments really quickly. That's what's up. Angela said, great stuff right there. I know that's right, Angela. It was so good to have you. Thanks, Todd, for throwing that up. Hashtag relationship goals 2018. Awesome. Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely, Karen, want to remind people live training online, how to bridge the gap with your co-parents.
And you can also just go to thecrcoach.com to register for that training. But the direct link is bit.ly/.
/ I don't know if I'm doing it
that way.
Yeah. Just say / Don't worry about
relationship goals 2018.
Right. And Karen did chime in. I thought this was pretty good. I was the involved parent, but as they grew up into adults, that didn't work anymore. Mm-hmm. I have learned to set those boundaries and encourage them to set their own boundaries with me. Super duper important, Karen. No, I get it. Guys, if you do not recognize, listen to me, that as your kids get older, your relationship evolves. It changes. You'll always be their parent, but you may not be their parent in the role that you have been all their lives. As a matter of fact, you won't be. You shouldn't be. You should at some point transition from parent to coach. Right. You should become their coach, their confidant, the person that they, our kids will call us up in a heartbeat and just run stuff by us. What do you think about this? My son is doing a business deal. He's in real estate, and he'll just say, I'm thinking about this. But I have this difficulty navigating this with this person. What do you think about this? How should I approach? That's because now I'm a coach. There are times that he'll call me and say, hey, Dad, you got a minute? I said, yeah. He'll say, I need to speak to the coach.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Glenn P. Brooks Jr., how can I help you? You know what I'm saying? And so he literally will say those exact words because he needs me to coach him up or to coach him through. Guys, all parents, if they're not careful, they won't embrace their new roles as coaches, and they'll never make that transition. If you don't make that transition, trust me, your kids will make it for you. Let's just say it that way. Right. So we're going to roll. We got to go.
Right. And I just want to say the last thing. Blended families can be difficult.
Yeah.
But if you do the work and the two of you come together on the same page, it can work.
Absolutely.
It can truly work, and it can become a very smooth process.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely,
we're proof that it
we
works.
Are proof.
We're proof that
and there's a bunch of people that
we know a lot of people that have been able to make it work, and so it is possible to be friendly with your co-parent.
Yeah.
You don't have to be friends.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to have the level of relationship like we have with Deirdre and Darren, but you can be friends. You can come to a place where you guys can get together, because at the end of the day, it's about the children.
Absolutely.
It's being able to be there to support them in the best way that you can. And if you guys are at odds with each other, that's not beneficial.
That's just not going to help them. I'll see you guys at 9 a.m. Hopefully you guys get excited and you join that particular group. At the end of the day, guys, we just want to remind you that hashtag we all need some help. So I want to tell you guys, we'll see you next time, I believe. Next week, next Saturday, we'll be back here.
Breakfast with the Brooks.
Yeah.
With the Brooks.
With the Brookses. Wait a minute, hold up real quick. Angela just said, I just want to say, oh, that's sweet. I'm trying to pop this up in the chat, and for whatever reason, it won't go over there. But Angela's saying, I just want to say I really admire the both of you and how you parent and work together. Oh, that's sweet.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela. I'm trying to get that to pop up in the deal, but for whatever reason, it won't show it over in the screen, but that's okay. But no, thank you so much, Angela. We really appreciate it. I'll see you guys at 9 a.m. If you want to find out more about that, just go to thecrcoach.com. That's www.thecrcoach.com. And we will see you at 9 a.m.
Have a great Saturday.
Have a great Saturday, guys.